بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So this is our 12th meeting, and today I'm gonna try to finish everything regarding the mandatory prayers, the five daily prayers. We already talked about the conditions of the prayers, the conditions of obligation, and the conditions of correction, that the prayer being correct. Today, I'm going to just mention concisely the wudu, the ablution, the things that need to be known about ablution. So they are let's see here. There are six things. The first thing about wudu or ablution is that you need to have intention. So intention means it is something that is coincides with the beginning of the action. The intention is the driving motivation behind doing something. So, for example, if you go and you want to wash your face, wash your hands, and wash your body because it's hot, you do not have an intention for wudu, for ablution. Instead, you're just washing because it's hot and you want to cool down. So intention means why I want to do this, why I'm doing something, what is driving me or pushing me, moving me to do something. So with doing the wudu ablution, first the intention, and the intention should match the intended. That's about intention. Intention should coincide with its beginning, and it's in the heart. So some people will say the intention, they will mention it like, I am going to do my ablution, my wudu for the dhuhr prayer, and so on and so forth. This is all just so they remind themselves. But actually, they wanting to do the wudu, the ablution, they're standing, they're walking to it, they're opening the faucet. They didn't do that unless they had the intention to do the wudu, the ablution. So intention is the driving force that makes you do something. Unless if you don't have anything in mind, it's just a habit. You don't have any intention in it, it's just a habit you're doing, then you need to train yourself that, okay, I'm doing this because I want to, for example, a person standing to pray the Dhuhr prayer, he just went to the mosque, started standing there in the line and started praying, said Allahu Akbar and got in. And his mind is thinking about business, my kids, my car, okay, I'm gonna go do this and that. Their mind is not in what they're doing. Their mind is not present. They have no intention. So intention should match the intended, should coincide with its beginning, and it's in the heart. The force, the emotions that's driving you to do something, the thought that's driving you to do something. So with the wudu, with the ablution, first, intention. Second, you wash the face, and washing something means the water is kind of, moving on it. You're washing it. It's not wiping, it's washing. Washing the face, and then washing the arms, including the elbow, then wiping the hair. And in the Shafi'i jurisprudence, you can wipe even part of one hair. If you in the Shafi'i madhab, if you even wipe part of one hair, you have done the, wiping your hair. It doesn't have to be like wiping everything. So, for example, women who wear hijab, they can take just some water with their hand, with the tips of their fingers. They can just insert it to the side or on the top. They wipe part of a hair and they have their wudu done. I mean, part of the wudu, which is wiping the hair. Then washing the feet. And washing the feet ends at the two ankle bones that are on the both sides of the foot. So you wash that, including that. And it needs to be done in this arrangement. So intention, then washing the face, then washing the arms, then wiping the hair, then washing the feet, and doing it on this arrangement. You have a valid ablution. Those are the pillars. There are other things, but they are not mandatory. If you do not do them, your ablution is correct, accurate, and everything is fine. Okay, let's move on to the pillars of the prayers, the pillars of what you should be doing with the obligatory prayers. Those pillars are 18, 18 things. They're very easy. Any person who have prayed once or twice, that person actually knows all of them by doing, by action. Um, there are 18 pillars, but can be reduced to 14 if we combine two things, which I will mention what are they. So first, in the prayer, the first pillar of the prayer, and before talking about the pillars, I want to mention the difference between the condition and the pillar. A condition is something outside of something. So the condition of the prayer is the thing you need to do before entering to the prayer. The pillars of the prayers are things done inside of the prayer. So the conditions of the prayer are things, if not done before the prayer is not valid. Then when we do them, then we start getting into the prayer. Then we will have the pillars of the prayer, means the things that make up the prayer. The first thing is intention. And as I said, intention should match the intended. So I want to pray, for example, the Dhuhr prayer. I'm standing there and I have my intention that I am going to pray the Fajr prayer. The prayer is invalid. My intention should match the intended. If I am if my intention is to pray the Dhuhr, then I should be acting and doing the Dhuhr prayer. Um, for example, let's say that I am wanting to pray the Dhuhr, and the Dhuhr is made of four rak'ahs, four bowings, um, or four bows. Now, if I do two, then my action is not matching with my intention. Okay, so the intention should match the intended. The intention should be coincided with the beginning of the action. When I'm saying of Allahu Akbar, that's when I should, having the intention in mind, or let's say in heart. So intention should match the intended, coincides with the beginning of the action or the thing I'm doing, and it's in the heart. Then the second pillar is standing. And this is specific to obligatory prayers. You need to stand. وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. Al-qawma is to stand, is to being in the standing position. That's unless if you're not able. For example, you got dizzy, or you have a disease, or you cannot stand. There is something preventing you. If you stand and you're dizzy, you could fall and injure yourself, hurt yourself. Then don't stand. Islamic jurisprudence, Islamic rulings is based on ability. If you're able to do what you have been ordered to do, then you do it. If you're not able, then you're not obligated with it unless if you're able again. So it depends on ability. So the second pillar is standing. unless if you're not able. The third pillar, so now I have intention, I'm standing. Okay, how do I enter to the prayer? You enter to the prayer by reciting the initiator takbir. They call it the prohibition takbir. Takbir means saying Allahu Akbar. When you say that with the intention, then you are in the prayer. You're now in the state of praying. And why they call it the prohibition takbir? Because it prohibits you from talking. Now you are in a state where you're not in your normal daily life state of, interacting with life and everything. You are in a state of praying. So reciting the initiator takbir, or which called takbir al-ihram, or called prohibition takbir, by saying Allahu Akbar. Um, then the fourth pillar is reading the Fatiha, reading the opening chapter. This is a pillar. So we need to say the initiator takbir. We need to read Al-Fatiha. It's a pillar in the prayer. Some people may ask, okay, where is lifting the hand? There is no lifting the hand. We see people when they start praying, they lift their hand behind their ears or by their ears. If I'm not mentioning something here, it means it's not a pillar. It's a sunnah or an appearance, something you can do and you can just discard. It's not going to affect the prayer. It's not going to affect the validity of the prayer. It's not going to render your prayer as invalid. So again, intention, the first pillar. The second pillar, standing. The third pillar, reciting the initiator takbir. The fourth pillar is reading the Fatiha. And reading the Fatiha, this includes the Bismillah, the Basmala, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, because Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in one of the qira'ahs, in one of the recitings, it's part of the Fatiha, so that we just don't get into a person says, okay, it's part of it, another person says it's not part of it. We will read it. That's what the Shafi'i madhab says. And reading it is better because it's it's so the Fatiha was revelated twice, with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and without Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And therefore, we account for it that, okay, if it's revelated like that and without that, it's okay to read it. Everybody, okay for them to read it because not gonna harm. And if you are following the Shafi'i madhab, then it's part of the Fatiha itself. It's a verse of the actual chapter. So reading the Fatiha with the Basmala, with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, that's the fourth pillar. The fifth pillar is bowing. You bow. And then um, the sixth pillar is resting or stillness in bowing. So it means that you rest, means you bow, and then you stay just a little bit so that your parts, your body is still, is resting. It's not like a match or a race. You bow, then you immediately stand up and straighten, and then it's not like that. I think they call it rooster picking, just picking, picking, picking. This is not correct. Part of the pillars of the prayer is to rest. When you bow, that's one pillar. The other pillar is to rest, to have stillness. Then the next pillar is lifting and straightening from bowing. And the next pillar is resting and stillness. Then prostration, where you put your 7 bones on the floor, your forehead, your palm, your knee, and your below the toes or the foot bones for the right and for the left. Um, or actually, is it 7? Yeah, it's 7. Put them on the ground. That's prostration. Then resting in that state and stillness, that's the next pillar. And then sitting in between 2 prostrations and then resting. I'm gonna go back to it. Don't worry, I'm just mentioning it right now. And then the last sitting, because when you prostrate, you go down, you prostrate, and then you sit, and then you have your resting or your stillness, and then you prostrate again, you have your resting and stillness, and then you stand up for the next rak'ah, for the next standing, for reading the Fatiha. But in the last sitting, you sit, you do not stand. And then saying the Shahada, and then praying upon the Prophet Muhammad and his family, which I think all of us know it. If you don't know it, just let me know so that I can send it to you or even say it. But it's actually very known. I'm gonna probably say it. So saying the Shahada and praying about the upon the Prophet Muhammad and his family in this last sitting, and then the intention to exit the prayer, then the first greeting when you say Salamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The second greeting is not a pillar. And this arrangement. So let's go back to it back again and let's do it again. 1, intention should match the intended and coincide with it in its beginning and it's in the heart. So intention, number 1. Number 2, standing, unless if not able. Number 3, reciting or saying the initiator takbir, the prohibition takbir. 4, reading the Fatiha with the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim as part of it. 5, bowing. 6, resting in it or stillness. 7, lifting and straightening from bowing. 8, resting and stillness in it. 9, prostration. 10, resting in prostration and stillness. 11, sitting between 2 prostrations. 12, resting in stillness in that sitting position. 13, the last sitting. 14, saying the Shahada in that last sitting. 15, saying the Shahada is 14. 15, praying upon the Prophet and his family in it. 16, the intention of exiting the prayer. 17, the first greeting when you say Assalamu alaikum. 18 is the arrangement of those pillars the way I mentioned. Okay, some people will say, okay, where's the middle sitting? It's not a pillar. Where's the middle Shahada? It's not a pillar. Where's the tasbih that we say in every, prostration or bowing? It's not a pillar. I only mentioned to you the pillars that if you do them, then your prayer is correct. If you do not do them, then your prayer is invalid. Okay. Um, So it's 18 pillars, but if we combine resting and stillness with bowing, resting and stillness with lifting and straightening from bowing, resting and stillness with prostrations, resting and stillness in the sitting between the two prostrations, then we will have 14 pillars. And every Muslim does those things every day, even, without knowing them, just by mimicking. But those the actual concise scientific or jurisprudence of the actual Islamic prayer, the pillars of those. Um, Again, intention, one, standing, two, reciting the initiator takbir, three, reading the Fatiha with the basmala, four, bowing, five, resting in it, six, lifting and straightening from bowing, seven, resting and stillness in the straightening and lifting, eight, prostration, nine, resting and stillness in it, 10, sitting between the two prostrations, 11, resting and stillness in it, 12, the last sitting, 13. Saying the Shahada in it, 14. Praying upon the Prophet and his family, 15. The intention, sorry, the intention of exiting the prayer, 16. The first greeting to the right, 17. And the arrangement of those things, those pillars, as I mentioned them. Those are the pillars of the prayer. If you do them within obligatory prayer, your prayer is accurate, correct. Nobody can say anything to you. Those are the pillars. Without them, your pillar is standing. I'm sorry, with them, your pillar is your prayer is standing, correct, accurate, doesn't miss anything. Without them, your pillar is invalid. There are things that can be added to them, as every Muslim knows. We can say the tasbih, we can sit in the middle sitting, the middle shahada, so on. Those are all are sunnah. They're not mandatory. They are additions, optionaries that we do. It's not something bad if you do them at all. I'm just teaching you the essential things so that I build your mentality to know what are the pillars and what are the additions. Okay? Any questions? Do you have any questions, guys? Anything unclear?
Can you do 15 through 18 again?
Yeah, for sure. So 15 is okay, let's do that. I'm gonna do from 13 to the last one. 13 is the last sitting. 14 is saying the shahada, which is you say التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا أشهد أن سيدنا our master Muhammad أشهد أن سيدنا محمد رسول الله, because you can say it. It's not gonna make it invalid at all. So 13, the last sitting, 14, saying the Shahada in the last sitting, 15, praying upon the Prophet Muhammad. So after you say the Shahada, أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن سيدنا محمد رسول الله, then you start doing the praying upon the Prophet Muhammad. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم اللهم بارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. That's number 15. Number 16 is the intention of exiting the prayer. Then, or with it, you do the first greeting. When you say, you turn your head to the right and say, Assalamu alaikum or Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. That's it. You're out of the prayer. So it's the intention of exiting the prayer and the act of exiting the prayer, which is the greeting. And number 18 is arranging the pillars the way I mentioned. This arrangement, how I mentioned them, is so the arrangement is required. It is not something that, for example, a person would say Allahu Akbar and enters to the prayer and then just straight goes to prostration. No, you cannot do that. You need to say Allahu Akbar while standing, reading the Fatiha. Then you need to bow. Then have stillness or resting in bowing. And then you need to lift and have some stillness there. And then you go down to prostration. Then you have stillness and resting there. Then you sit. Then you have some stillness and resting. And then you bow again. And then, oh, sorry, you prostrate again. And then you stand up. So let's imagine that, okay, I am praying the Fajr prayer, which is 2 rakah. I'm gonna so I'm gonna do the actual conditions. I'm gonna direct the Qibla. I have done my ablution, so I went and opened the water. If I want it to be warm or cold, doesn't matter. Um, then I'm gonna have my intention for ablution. Okay, I'm gonna do my ablution, my wudu. I'm washing my face. Then I wash my arms, including the elbow. Then I'm wiping my hair, even part of a hair, and then washing my feet to the two bones, including the two bones on the sides of the foot, and then doing it in that arrangement. That's it. I'm covered. I'm wearing good clothes to cover my body if I was a man or a woman, depending on the requirement. And I'm facing the Qibla. The place I'm standing on is clean. I am in the time of the prayer. I need to pray, and I'm gonna start praying. So I have my intention. I'm standing, and I say Allahu Akbar. I start reading the Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. I am done reading the Fatiha with the Basmala, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, as a part of it. Then I bow. I am still there for a second, and then I lift. I'm still there for a second, I'm resting, and then I prostrate. I'm still there for a second. I sit between it and the next prostration. I'm still there for a second, and then I prostrate again. I'm still there for a second, and then I stand, and then I repeat. I read the Fatiha, and then I bow. I still lifting, straightening, still, and then prostration, the first one, sitting still, then sitting, and then still, and then prostrating again, then still, then sitting the last sitting, and then I am saying my Shahada, I'm saying my prayer upon the Prophet and his family, and then I have my intention to exit the prayer. Then I say the greeting, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, doing it in this order. That's it. I'm done. I have done my subh prayer. What about all the other things we know about that we do in the prayer? Those are not a pillar in the prayer. If we do not do them, my prayer is valid. If I do them, it's an extra reward. That's it. It's that simple. Do you have any questions? Okay. Let's talk about what are the things that will ruin your prayer. Things, if you do it in your prayer, while you're in your prayer, they will ruin your prayer. The first thing is talking. As I said, when you have your intention to enter the prayer, you're standing and then you recite the initiator, the takbir. Takbiratul ihram means the prohibition takbir. It prohibits you from doing the normal things you're doing during your life. If you have something important that you need to do, saving somebody's life, your kid, you need to, take a sugar bar because your sugar went really low and you're going to pass out, do it. Do it. But I mean, you cannot eat in the prayer, so you need to redo the prayer, but never prioritize the prayer over your health. That's what the Prophet Muhammad is teaching us, alayhi salam. We will talk about that in the next stage, which is building the Islamic mindset. We have something called in Islam, we have something called the um, the five forgot the name in English. Those are the five objectives, the major objectives of Islam. And it starts with maintaining yourself, then maintaining your mind, then maintaining your religion. Because if you do not maintain yourself, if you're dead or you're in harm, you cannot maintain your mind. And if you cannot maintain your mind, you cannot maintain your religion. And then your religion will maintain your dignity and your belongings. So if you're going to pass out because your sugar is low, something is happening dangerous and you need to flee, do it. And then you would redo the prayer later. It's okay. Your life first. That's what the religion is teaching us. But when I enter to the prayer, there are things that will ruin the prayer as an action. Like for example, if um, if you're talking right now, if I'm talking with you, and if I just unplug, the internet, it will ruin our communication. If I hit the end button for the call, the call will end. So things will actually end the call. The same thing. Things will ruin your prayer. If you need to end the call or flee because something is happening, it's totally okay. It doesn't mean that things are ruining your prayer are bad things. It means they are ruining your prayer. That's it. You need to redo it. What are those things? Those things are this talking, you know, having, you're talking to someone besides you. You're telling them things, they're telling you things, or you're just mentioning things. Okay, be careful, somebody's coming. No, you cannot say that in the prayer. So, talking, the first thing, if you talk in the prayer, that will ruin your prayer. Working or like doing things, moving, a lot of movement, that's gonna ruin your prayer. What we mentioned before, hadith or occurrence, you ruined your wudu. You were holding you needed to go to the bathroom and something leaked out. You shouldn't be entering to the prayer in that state because, you're going to be really, really in a bad situation. But you have done it. You're holding yourself and suddenly something came out. You need to go, you need to do your ablution and go back to the prayer and say Allahu Akbar and redo it. So the occurrence, the hadith, something filthy. Like for example, you're standing and there's a bird and just, a bird does its thing in the air and just poops and you were the target. And now you have something, filthy on you. You need to go, exit the prayer, you need to go and wash it. You don't need to redo your wudu, just wash it. If it was on your clothes, then wash it. And then come back to your prayer and redo it. Exposing parts of the body that should be covered. As we said, for men, it's above the level of the navel button and below the knee. If, for example, a person is standing and his, you know, shorts falls, so now his thighs are exposed, you need to redo the prayer. For women, it's covering her body except for the face and the hands. They can be exposed, and with the Hanafi jurisprudence, her foot too. So exposing parts of the body that should be covered, if they are exposed, then your prayer is ruined. Changing of intention of the prayer. For example, you're standing, you're praying the Dhuhr prayer, and you say with yourself, okay, you know what? I'm going to start praying the Asr prayer. I'm just going to continue. You cannot do that. With the obligatory prayer, this will ruin the prayer. That's it. Um, so changing of intention of the prayer itself will ruin the prayer you're in. Turning your back to the Qibla. You're facing the Qibla, you're standing, you're praying, and suddenly you turned your back to the Qibla. That's immediately ruins the prayer. Eating and drinking, as I said, if your sugar gets low, if you need to do something for yourself, do it. It's gonna ruin the prayer. It's okay, you'll redo it. Probably even redo it later if you have like, if you keep having your, you're dizzy or something, you can even do it while sitting, because I said standing if you're able. If you're not able, then you can sit, because it's not something valid that you stand and then you're dizzy, you fall, you injure yourself. That's not the intention of a religion. Laughter, you're laughing, not smiling, laughing, because you will produce some sounds with laughing, like ha 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 or hey hey or whatever. You're producing sounds, so it will ruin your prayer. And I think they call it apostasy or just reverting. Okay, there is no God. I don't know. I don't know. That's it. Your prayer is invalid, because we said that we have conditions of obligation, which is the first one is being a Muslim. If you revert, if you exit from the religion, your prayer is invalid. Then, for example, a person says, okay, no, hold on. What's the hell is going on here? Is just a waswas. I'm not gonna surrender to those thoughts. I'm not gonna even pay attention to them. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Gets back into the religion. Then you need to redo your prayer, because your prayer was ruined. So those things are the things that ruin your prayer. I'm gonna just list them again back. Talking, a lot of movement, hadath or occurrence, impurity or filthiness happens on you, like a bird poops or something, drops on you, exposing parts of the body that should be covered, changing the intention of the prayer while in the prayer, turning one's back to the Qibla, eating and drinking, or eating or drinking, um, eating and drinking, laughter, and reverting from religion. Those are the things that will ruin your prayer. Any questions? Because we will have one or two lessons, and then we're done with this stage. We will get into the next stages. So, any questions regarding this? I mean, before anybody asks anything, we have other things in the prayer. For example, if a person is traveling, they have some, things that make their life easier while praying. A person who, for example, will go out and they probably will miss the dhuhr. The prayer is called and they're in the way, or they're just busy at work, for example. There's no way that they can pray. And the asr will come in, they can. And this is in the religion. This is not about Shia and Sunni. This is something that was done by the Prophet Muhammad alayhi in Sahih Muslim, that you can actually merge those two prayers together in one time. So, for example, you want to pray the Dhuhr, you cannot. So you can initiate your intention in the Dhuhr time, that I'm gonna gather it, I'm gonna combine it with the Asr in the Asr time. So, but the intention needs to be in the time before the time exits. And then when the Asr comes, for example, and you're going home, then you pray the Dhuhr, then the Asr without shortening them. You pray 4 and 4, but now you have a permission from Allah, from our Master Muhammad, that you can pray this here and pray that here. And there's, details about this subject, but I don't want to ruin the intention of this stage, the first stage we are in, which is the basic foundations of Islam. I only want to give you things that are necessary, the pillars, the things that are most necessary for a person to know to practice their religion. And then if you have specific questions, we will get into them, or you can ask me now or later, or even text me. So do you have any questions? Okay. Next lesson, we will understand the Al-Fatiha chapter. And if we have more time, we will talk about devil and the whispers of devil, and that this world is the farm of the next world or the last world, the hereafter. If we can combine them together in one lesson, perfect. Then we will enter to the next stage afterwards. Otherwise, we'll have just one or two more lessons, inshallah. Any questions? Anything? Okay. See you, inshallah. Be good. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.